wrist is hanging low. Boots crunch the frost where the grasses grow. Rifle slung in a heart that's steady. The wild calls out and I'm already ready. The hunt is on and the woods don't lie. Tracks in the dirt under an open sky. It's a man, a plan, and the earth in sync. The hunt is on, take a breath, don't blink.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Inside Spread Podcast. My name is Kenny. I'm your host. Thank you for being here today. We believe we got a good show on tap for you, and we just want to take a moment to appreciate everyone who's been here for the first 3 episodes. And if you're a newcomer, we also want to say a special thank you. We just appreciate everyone being here. Today, we're talking about a cartridge that's turning heads in the long-range hunting world. The 6.5 Weatherby RPM. If you're into precision shooting or backcountry elk hunting, or you just love talking about ballistics, this episode is for you. The 6.5 Weatherby RPM is a fast, flat shooting, and it is built for hunters who want to stretch out their effectiveness on big game. My guest today has got an opportunity to test this rifle in the past. He's shot at the Weatherby factory. He took it on a hunt in Wisconsin, and he put some rounds down range in realistic hunting distances. He's going to break down the ballistics a little bit. He's going to talk about the real world performance and the pros and cons and whether this cartridge is worth your investment. We're also going to talk about the recoil, the muzzle blast, ammo availability, and the kind of hunter who should actually be running this kind of cartridge. By the end of the episode, you'll know whether the 6.5 Weatherby RPM is the right choice for your hunting style, or if you're better off sticking with a more established cartridge. But before we bring in our guest today, I just want to mention a few ways that you can support us at the Inside Spread. First, we are partnered with Academy Sports, King's Camo, Reyes Crossbow. If you shop through these affiliate links that we'll put in the show notes, we earn a small commission at no extra cost to you. Especially when it comes to Academy Sports. If you buy sporting goods, hit our affiliate link and go purchase that basketball, that baseball, that hunting rifle, or whatever that you would be shopping for your upcoming seasons. We'd really appreciate it, and it would help us out greatly. Second, you can join our community at theinsidespread.com. You can right now read articles, check out our tips and tricks and gear suggestions and all kind of things like that. But we are also building a off social media community for hunters, and we'll be rolling that out soon. And so you'll be able to check that out. We're excited to do that for our audience. And third, just follow us on Instagram and Facebook. We really appreciate anybody who wants to connect with us and chat with us on social media. We will make sure we have hunting tips there, gear reviews, and updates on new episodes. And finally, if you enjoy this show, please leave us a quick review on Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. That 30 seconds to rate our podcast will help us reach a bigger audience as we move forward. So thank you very much. We really appreciate you being here. And right now, that's enough for me. Let's bring in today's guest and dive into what makes the 6.5 Weatherby RPM tick. It's going to be a good one. So thanks, everyone. Well, hello and welcome to the Inside Spread Podcast. My name is Kenny Claremont, and today I got Travis here with me again to talk about the Weatherby 6.5. And we just want to welcome you to the show. Thank you for being here. Thanks for checking it out. And yeah, we just appreciate everyone that can come here. The reason we are doing this podcast in the first place is to connect hunters, share real stories, and build skills. So we'll move on right away today. And thank you again for Travis for meeting with us today and talk about the Weatherby 6.5.
All right. Thanks for having me back.
Sure, for sure. So let's get right into it. Why should hunters take a look at the 6.5 Weatherby RPM?
Yeah, so this is another kind of interesting a little bit of a niche cartridge again. That last time we talked about the 350 Legend, obviously, which is kind of a niche thing for Michigan hunters. hunters in the Midwest. This is another kind of niche round, which I ended up acquiring one of these a few years ago, and it's uh, very, very interesting. Basically, what Weatherby wanted to do was they wanted to make a Magnum cartridge, but they wanted it to be in a much, much lighter rifle. And so what they ended up coming up with was the 6.5 Weatherby RPM, and it's basically a dragster. That's what I would call it in terms of speed and just flat trajectory. It's just a high performance machine, which I think it's going to be targeted towards a very specific group of hunters. We'll get into that a little bit more, but that's basically the main thing to know about it. It's designed for very, very specific scenarios. I would say probably uh, high up in the mountains. You're going to be climbing over boulders and everything to really high elevations, really special tags probably in the Western United States where you don't want to just take any old rifle. You want to take, maybe a once in a lifetime tag kind of scenario, I would say. Um, but the whole point, um, and I have it in my notes right here. Let me look at that real quick. Yeah, so basically, what they wanted to do was they wanted to utilize their six lug action, but they wanted to put it into a backcountry rifle. So yeah, they took 284 Winchester as a parent case, extended the case a little bit, gave it a 35-degree shoulder, and it just allowed them to pack a little bit more powder into it, just make it a lot faster. So, but I haven't shot some of these other rifles, um, but the Mark V Backcountry TI, 4.9 pounds. I mean, that is
That's
ridiculously
real light.
light.
Yeah.
Yeah, for any rifle. Mark V Backcountry, 5.3 pounds, and the Weathermark LT, 5.8 pounds. So
Yeah.
it's very obviously for someone who's really hardcore, who's going into some really crazy places, I think.
Yeah. I mean, that weight makes a huge difference out west. When I had an elk hunting tag back several years ago, and just bringing my rifle was like 7.5 pounds, and you feel it. You feel it a lot when you're walking 10 plus miles a day. So yeah, it's certainly worth the weight. Just the weight alone, having something that could potentially be 3 pounds less it makes a difference for sure.
Yeah.
So, what makes the 6.5 Weatherby RPM different from maybe the other 6.5 cartridges on the market right now?
Well, I think it's mainly speed difference. So let me just read off some stats on the back of this box. This is what is this? This is the 124 grain hammer customs from Weatherby. So it's pretty small bullet for this, but 3,250 feet per second from the muzzle, um, even out to 100 yards, 3,040 feet per second. Uh, it doesn't dip down to like 2,200 feet per second until 500 yards. That's the speed of the 350 Legend we talked about last week
Yeah.
from the muzzle. Um, and the other thing that impresses me, energy and trajectory. So 2,908 foot-pounds of energy at the muzzle, 2,500 at 100 yards, 2,200 at 200 yards. I really I don't think that there's anything that in North America that this round uh, doesn't have the energy for.
Mm,
Obviously, shot placement and distance play factors into there. Um, some of the larger bullets are slower than this, but I I, I think it could theoretically, I think it could take almost anything in North America, which is kind of a huge plus for it.
yeah.
And the
Flexibility
zero
is
for these
always great.
100 and hmm,
I said the flexibility is always great
yeah,
for people purchasing
yeah,
rifles.
yeah. And the zero for these 124 grain bullets is 300 yards. So there's zero drop at 300 yards, which is kind of insane. Um,
Hmm.
and actually, the first time I shot this at 100 yards with the scope that Weatherby had set up for me and had zeroed at the factory, I mean, I put it right on the dot and it went exactly where it was supposed to go. I mean, I didn't even adjust it from the factory setting because it was just so dead on, and it's just that blew me away. I've never had that happen with any like bore-sighted scope on anything. So
Yeah,
it's it's impressively fast and it's impressively accurate.
nice. Cool. So when you were hunting with it, and maybe you didn't shoot it out this far, but would you feel confident going to 200, 300, 400 yards with this rifle and cartridge?
I again, I'm not super comfortable out to the super long yards, but I feel pretty confident at 200 yards. I mean, I didn't get a chance at a shot that far on that particular hunt. Um, but like I was ready, I had my rangefinder and it's like,
Mhm.
okay, that's within 200 yards. I was ready to take that shot.
Yeah.
If it presented itself. It never happened, unfortunately. I was there. I was up in Wisconsin, like 2 days after the opening of firearms season, so like a
Mhm.
bunch of the bucks had already been killed. Um, but I feel pretty confident I probably could have pulled that off. Um, the deer I did shoot, I think it was only like 65 yards, and it just flipped her. I mean, it was kind of overkill for that situation, but there was no doubt that deer was dead as soon as they put it on her shoulder.
Yeah. That's good to know for ethics and stuff too. Just to that it's going to knock the thing down if it's within 100 yards for sure. It's just going to make
I
that
probably
tracking
feel more,
easy.
yeah, I probably feel more confident with this than any other rifle that I own. So it's that good.
Mhm. You kind of covered it a little bit, but you know, what are some other scenarios where the 6.5 Weatherby really shines? Like what are the terrains, the hunting scenarios? What do you think that it's really built for?
Yeah, again, I think it's built for those longer range scenarios. I wouldn't feel comfortable shooting out to 300, 400, 500 yards, but for people who are, I think that this would do the trick for you. Um, Again, that 300 yard zero, that's huge. So, I could see this would be great probably for something like pronghorn antelope out in
Hmm.
Wyoming where it's super wide open and it's so hard to get close to those things because they're so fast. And there's not many places to hide out there.
Yeah,
So I could see this being a big thing, like anywhere where you don't have a lot of cover
yeah,
and you can't get super, super close. It'd be great for that kind of stuff. I think it would be great for like sheep hunters and stuff like that, where you going way up in the mountains and again, it gets hard to get close.
yeah.
This thing would more than do the trick on sheep. It might be a little bit overkill for for some of that stuff, uh, but I do like the versatility of it. It could be used for just about anything. Um, it might be maybe not. I some of these smaller bullets, like the 124 grain, I wouldn't want to shoot like a a really big bear or something with that. But I think properly placed, it could take down just about anything.
Yeah. I'm sure they have some larger loads there too for in that style. So there's probably potential for
Yeah.
take bigger game if it necessary. You know,
Yeah, this could also probably it probably wouldn't be bad for like if you were going on safari in Africa for some plains game, some
hmm
of the smaller plains game. I think it would do all right in those scenarios too. Again, if you just want to keep your distance from some of the more dangerous animals.
yeah. I mean, the 300 yards zero is that's pretty incredible to think that it'd be that far away from something and you could just put the crosshairs right on the button and it would hit it every time. That's crazy to think about. Obviously there's shooter air and things like that to consider, but like if you're putting on a good shot from 300 yards and you're within that, it's going to hit right where you're aiming at without making much adjustment. That's huge for flexibility and just creates more opportunities for you across the board.
Yeah, and I don't have a range where I could test it at 300 yards. I mean, again, Southwest Michigan, we're rarely shooting beyond 100 yards. Like all the ranges I use around here top out at 100 yards, so it's kind of
Mm-hmm.
frustrating. Um, at some point I do want to find a longer range and see what this thing can do on the range at 2 or 300. But just haven't had a chance to do it yet. I feel pretty confident that it could do that though.
Yeah. Uh, what I mean, you've shot it at least a few times, you took it out the range, took a deer with it in the past. What do you feel like the recoil is compared to maybe some other cartridges that you're, similar in size and style?
It's not that bad, but I'll preface this with this. So those three rifles we talked about earlier, uh, I have not shot those rifles. The gun that I have for this gun is the Weatherby Model 307, and that's around in that 7.3 pound range, and
Hmm.
it's got a pretty generous recoil pad on it, so it really kind of soaks up that recoil. Um, it did come with a muzzle brake, but I didn't find it until recently in the box. I was like, oh, that was hiding in there the whole time, so I haven't had a chance to shoot it with that. I think it would help it a little bit. It's a mild recoil, I would say. It's not unpleasant. Um, it's more than a 6.5 Creedmoor. I have shot that, and it's a little bit more oomph, but I don't think it was that bad. I think you would feel it more in that lighter 4.9 pound rifle, but
Hmm.
without testing it, I can't say for sure that that's the
For sure.
case. Um,
Yeah.
there's going to be some trade-offs in there when you're talking about 3,000 feet per second in a case that's, this long. Uh,
Hmm.
so you might have to deal with a little bit more recoil in that scenario. But uh, when it's as accurate and as fast as this is, I mean, odds are you're not going to need more than one shot anyway. So
Yeah.
in my mind, it's a little bit more tolerable if it is a little bit more in those lighter rifles.
Yeah. Thinking about just considering the Weatherby and then maybe the 6.5 more that you had brought up, like what do you feel like the major differences are, if there is many? What do you think how do they think they present themselves?
I think it's just the flatter trajectory and uh because I've shot a 6.5 Creedmoor at about 400 some yards and there was quite a bit of high holdover to hit the target
Hmm.
at that distance. I mean this thing at 400 yards trajectory minus 8.6 inches. I mean you don't have to kind of compensate quite as much. This is in a 26-inch barrel according to this, which is what I think my rifle is. So
Hmm.
that's probably the big thing. It shoots pretty flat, and it's just a lot faster than the 6.5 Creedmoor or the PRC, which I was looking at the stats on that before we came on here. It's a little bit faster than that.
Hmm.
Um, so this is for like the guys who want just pure raw performance,
Hmm.
really.
For sure. I had talked to Matt about it the other day about using his PRC for uh, his hunts, and he's using it for his elk hunts and his hunts and things like that because it's very flexible, very similar to the RPM it looks like, but just different styles and brands and such. So uh, as far as the Weatherby is concerned, what does the availability kind of look like around the country? Because it's kind of is focused more on the west. It's a little easier, harder to find rounds and such on this side of the river.
Yeah, and I think I told you about this already, but uh, I live here in Southwest Michigan. This is not an area that a lot of people are using something like this.
Yeah.
Um, I have searched stores from here in Michigan. I've checked in West Virginia, Alabama, Florida. Basically, I have not seen a box of 6.5 Weatherby RPM on store shelves
Mm-hmm.
in any of these states. So I went earlier this year. I took a road trip, and just every once in a while, I'd stop at a store and check, and nobody had it. So the availability is not great. It's one of Weatherby's pet cartridges, which doesn't help it any. That's
Yeah.
the biggest disadvantage of this thing is that it's a weird cartridge that Weatherby came up with. They're not producing it in huge numbers, I don't think,
Mhm.
uh, just because it is a little more niche. I did do some searching on Reddit though, and there were guys saying in Western states, so your Wyomings, your Montanas, those states, Colorado, they said that it's very available on the shelves there. So it's available where the target audience is
Yeah,
what it
for sure.
sounds like.
That
I
makes
haven't had
sense.
a chance to go out there and check since then, but yeah, the availability is spotty. If you're going to live over here, you would have to order it, it seems. Uh, because yeah, I've searched a lot of stores in Michigan and I cannot find it. Where I do see 6.5 PRC and I see, other kind of niche 6.5 uh cartridges. This is the one I cannot find.
Hmm. Yeah. It seems like, as you say, like the target is Western hunters, so they're kind of focused on that niche little group out there for this specific rifle. And obviously, the 6.5 Creedmoor is not, going anywhere when it comes to Eastern hunting. So it's,
Yeah.
it can be an opportunity for somebody if they're going on their first elk hunt or they're, heading out west for the first time to hunt antelope. That maybe this is a cartridge for you to take a look at.
Yeah, and I think that availability, that's something of a you should consider if you're going to consider getting this rifle because it may let's say you forgot your box of ammo at home and you're on the hunt of a lifetime and you're out in the middle of nowhere and there's one store and they don't have it, you're out of luck.
Yeah.
So it's something to think about. Again, I think in those Western states, at least from what I read online, it's a lot more available there. But if you're hunting, somewhere in the east over here, if you go up to like Maine or something like that, and I don't know what the availability would be there, but it has not been good over here.
Yeah. Well, even you think about the West and how spread out it is and how massive it is, you could be a couple hundred miles from the closest store that might offer it, even if it is fully available. So it's something you got to think about. It might not be at your local hunting shop in the small little town you're, 20 miles from. It might only be, in a bigger town, and that could be the
Sure.
difference between you being able to find your ammo and not find it. It's
Oh
interesting.
yeah, I lived briefly in Cody, Wyoming, and once you get outside of Cody, I mean, there's there's not much in terms
Yeah,
of stores. There's not much in terms of finding something. For them, it's no big deal to drive 2 hours to go get groceries. I mean,
yeah,
that's
for sure. Yeah,
which blows my mind here, but uh,
I
it
we have a good
happens.
we have good friends that live in it's kind of in.
Can't hear you. Did you mute yourself? I still can't hear you. Uh-oh. Why can't I hear you? Okay, that's weird.
Now.
Now I can hear you.
Good. Sorry, my mic, I guess, went out of batteries there. So sorry for sorry for
Oh,
that. I was
you're gonna have
just
to
talking.
make like a cut there and
Yeah,
change that
I'll
all.
make a quick cut and transition. It's no big deal. Errors are going to happen. It is what it is. But I was
Yeah.
saying that I have some friends in Wyoming that they drive several hours just to get their groceries. So I can't imagine trying to find something specific as a as an ammo cartridge. So if there was one thing you could fix about the 6.5 RPM to make it more appealing to hunters, what do you think it would be?
I would wish that more manufacturers were making this. I think Hornady makes a few cartridges for it, but for the most part, this is all Weatherby's product, which they make fantastic products. But yeah, it's almost so niche that no one else wants to touch it right now.
Mm-hmm.
At least that's what it looks like. I mean, if you're going to buy a rifle for this, you're buying a Weatherby. There
Yeah.
are no other, as at least as far as I know. Maybe there's a few like custom rifle makers who are building rifles for this, but for the most part, like the other big names, it doesn't look like anybody else is chambering this particular cartridge. Um, And Weatherby rifles are not cheap.
Yeah.
So, that's another big part of it. Um, so it would be nice to see some other manufacturers making this, some other ammo manufacturers offering it, because it does seem that it comes out in very limited numbers. It's also very expensive because of that.
Yeah.
It's approximately, $5 a round. So a box like this costs $100. So
Dang.
this is not something you're going to casually shoot at the range. Um, but maybe some rich guy does, takes it to
Yeah.
competition for fun. But for me, for an average guy like me, it's like this is only going to be used at very special occasions,
Yeah.
uh, until they make it more affordable. Um, there's not much info on reloading it out there, so I don't know how hard or easy that would be, if you wanted to shoot it more often. But another potential downside, and I don't know for sure on this, but a lot of these really fast 6.5s they have a reputation for burning barrels pretty quick.
Hmm.
Um, just because they're running so hot and so fast. And I suspect that this would be one of those rounds that it
Hmm.
would burn the barrel. I don't think it's a huge downside again because I think this is going to be a very specialty, very specific scenarios, very special hunts that you're going to use it for. But it is something to consider if you want to shoot it more than that.
Yeah. I mean, if you're zeroed in at 300 yards already, when you get it out of the box, basically, and you're taking it, you're not going to be taken to the range very long because you're going to be on target pretty quickly. And then hopefully, when you're out in the field, you can't guarantee that it'll be a one shot kill, but hopefully, if you put it on the right spot, you'll only have to maybe follow up one time at most to make sure the game's down. So I think that flexibility, you can understand that, yeah, the cost is a little bit more, but if it's worth it for your style of hunt or what you want, then go right ahead. Just obviously looking at the potential negatives, you got to be able to balance them out with what the positives are.
Yeah, and my first group was a sub MOA group with this thing, and I've never had that happen. Which again, it was crazy. Didn't do anything to it. It was a sub MOA group at 100 yards. And so I shot like I think like six more rounds just to make sure that it was accurate, just because I'd never seen that before.
Yeah.
I was like, there's no way it's really this accurate. And no, it was. Weatherby makes a hell of a product. So
Yeah. Did they, when you got the rifle, was the scope Weatherby brand as well?
no, it's like a Sig Sauer, and I have it stashed away. I would go
That's
look
fine.
at it, but I don't know exactly what it is. I
Yeah.
looked it up later, and it was, it wasn't a super top of the line optic. It was, kind of a mid-priced optic.
Yeah.
But
But the trick.
really, yeah, oh yeah, it did the trick. Absolutely. I mean, I won't replace it. It works fine for me for what
Yeah.
I'd need it for. I'm not one of these hardcore guys that has to hit, oh man, I need a $3,000 piece of glass on top of this now. It's like
Yeah.
it's out of my budget.
Yeah. Yeah. When I'm thinking about uh, rifles and purchasing them from optics, in general, my thought is to almost double the cost of the rifle. Well, that's if my rifle is $500. $1,000 is not a big deal. But when you're starting to talk about more than that, 1,500, 2,000, and you're buying an optic for that, sure, you have the money for it because you're buying the gun for it, but you don't necessarily need all the bells and whistles. But yeah, to each their own, I guess. You can spend what you want on your guns.
Yeah. I just don't ever see myself like shooting past 300 yards unless it's on like a range and like just fun just to see if you can hit it. But like on a game animal, like I would be comfortable in the 100 to 250, 300 yard range with this.
Yeah, well, good. Uh, I think the Weatherby 6.5 is this flexible option. It clearly can shoot out to many yards. Obviously, we talked about the drawbacks of availability and things like that, and maybe even the cost could be prohibitive to people. But is there anything else you want to add about the 6.5 RPM today?
I will note that it's pretty darn loud. Uh, I definitely noticed that. I didn't notice it on the range when I had my hearing protection on, but when I shot that doe, I didn't have hearing protection on and rang my ears a little bit. So you
Mhm.
might want to bring along just a couple of earplugs, stick in your ear on a hunt. Um, you know, you should probably do that all the time anyway, but I wasn't thinking about it at
Yeah.
the time, and so but there were several of us using this round on this particular hunt, and we killed several deer. And you always knew when somebody was shooting one of these because
Yeah.
it is loud. So something to consider. The model 307 rifle that I have, it does have a threaded barrel, so you could put a suppressor on it. I don't know how much it would help it, but I imagine it would do something to that. So.
Okay. Yeah, it seems like a worthwhile round to check out. I don't know if I will be buying it anytime soon, but it could be something to think about it when or if I get another opportunity to go out west to do an elk hunt or something like that. It could be something to kind of think about and
Yeah,
consider.
it's definitely not for everyone. Um, like I said, the only reason I ended up with it is because I went on a press trip and they offered to sell me one for a very good price. So, but I'm definitely decided to keep it. I mean, I think some people might sell it in this scenario, but I've been putting in for my Michigan elk tag for a while. If I ever get drawn for that thing, I'm good to go on that.
Yeah,
So it's kind of nice knowing that I have that. Um, and if I do ever find a longer range, it'd be kind of fun to go out and see just how far I could hit with this thing. So,
yeah, for sure. That's cool. Well, that kind of just wraps up our deep dive on the 6.5 Weatherby. What do you got coming up next?
um, I don't have much going on at the moment. Gonna try to get in one last camping trip for the year, and then start working on so try to work on some whitetail articles. I think to just kind of do some tactics kind of stuff. Maybe I kind of want to write about some scent control stuff.
Okay.
Maybe a little bit about ozone generators. I've been using those for many years now great success, and it's made a believer out of me. So I have a lot to say on that subject. Maybe we can dive into that sometime.
Yeah, that sounds good. I know you also have a high end clothing article coming out soon. It'll probably be out before this gets posted, so we'll be able to connect about that one in the future soon as well. So
Yeah, we should definitely talk about that. There's a lot to say with that stuff, especially right now when it feels like inflation is really high and everything's really expensive, and people are like, "Oh man, do I really want to spend this much on, hunting clothing?" And I did have a lot of thoughts on that, so
yeah, so
that'd be worth
look forward to
checking
that conversation. We'll probably get that recording done here soon, and then you'll have to look for it out. I don't know which episode it'll be quite yet, but uh, just keep your eye out for it, and yeah, we'll keep on moving this forward. Well, thank you again, Travis, for joining us today, and thank you, listeners, for checking out our podcast. And if you have an opportunity or you have a second, leave us a nice review, and it'll help us reach more people. So thank you and for joining the Inside Square podcast today.
Freedom runs wild under nature's dome. Down by the pine, it feels like home. Crisp wind whispers through the autumn gold. Stories of the land, both new and old. Tracks in the dirt, the trail calls my name. Out here in the wild, it's all just the same. Down by the pine,